What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be answering some of your guys' questions. Now there are a lot of them. I'm going to try and get through as many as possible. So I might just try to keep some of the answers relatively short so we can just blaze through this. But I put out a community post yesterday seeing if you guys wanted me to answer any questions, and yeah, you guys sent in a lot of them. I hope you guys are all doing wonderful. We've got a lot of fantastic projects coming up in the near future. Before we jump into this video, you guys, I just want to say that I have a ton of overstock merch. So I have two different ways of distributing merch to you guys. I have an online store, and that's all on print, on demand. And then I have a bunch of merch that I made for inventory to have on hand for car shows. So basically I'm going to be doing two package deals. You guys can either get this shirt along with a license plate frame and a decal, as well as my signature on the shirt. I'll probably be signing it on like the nape of the neck back here, or you can get a Thic Whips shirt, says Thic Whips across it, and I'll also be signing it back here along with a license plate frame and a decal. It's going to be like a package deal. So if you guys want that, it's limited quantities. I'm going to have it linked down below. Once we run out of these packages, we're out of these packages, but this is just an overstock of a bunch of the merch that I have on hand. So I figured I would just do like a special package deal for you guys. Check that out, link down below, and thank you for the support as always. So we're just gonna get it rolling from the top, you guys. What's your opinion on the GTIs, Golf Rs? Also been sub for a year now, love all your builds and the way you do your videos. First of all, thank you so much, Jordan Adamson. I really appreciate your support and the kind words. My opinion on GTIs and Golf Rs. I grew up really liking those cars and always wanting one, but I've just never really been a big fan of like modifying in the VW space. It's never really been something that I've loved. I always was involved in the JDM world growing up, and then went over to like BMWs, and I've just kind of stuck with BMWs because I like them a little bit more. It's really just a matter of preference, I guess. I don't really love the way that VWs look, and I just think that there's more bang for the buck and potential in the BMW world. That's kind of why I've stuck with it. BMW and JDM, those are like my two things: Acuras, Hondas, and BMWs. That's kind of like what I love the most. Nonetheless, very cool cars, and I can appreciate, of course, all the builds. Moving along, not car related, but channel related. What all do you use to make your content software-wise? And as a small YouTuber creator, highly curious, you have some of the best edited content. Wow, thank you so much. I am very, very harsh on myself when it comes to editing and production, and I never quite think that my videos are good enough. So it feels really good to hear people say that they are good enough, because I do put a lot of time and energy into this. What I use personally is pretty basic. I also have all this stuff listed on my website, you guys. I use a Canon EOS mirrorless camera. It's the M6. I use a very basic lens. It has a wide angle over here. I'm using my GoPro 10. I like to diversify as much as possible with camera gear, but keep it very, very simple. I don't overcomplicate anything. If I do have to replace something, because a lot of these cameras are getting thrown around quite often, I don't want it to be like crazy expensive. So I keep my stuff pretty conservative when it comes to equipment. I also strongly believe that the quality of the content comes from the storytelling and the presentation and what you're actually filming over the equipment. You know, I started with like a $50 GoPro and just grew up from there and slowly got nicer and nicer camera gear. But I don't think you need to have the nicest camera gear to be successful in this game. I just think you have to have good ideas and be diligent and disciplined about how you're making content. As far as editing, I use Final Cut Pro. The reason I use that is because I've just been using it for so long now that I'm used to it. I don't think that it's really better than like Premiere or any of the other editing softwares out there, but I think you could easily do this using iMovie or any other, like there's a lot of free options out there like Clip Cut and stuff like that. Like you can definitely do YouTube without spending a ton of money to see if you really like it first before like totally investing in it. On to the next one. What do you like, dislike about your current suspension setup? Would you do anything different, and why? So on this car, I have the KW V3s, and I would not do anything different. I absolutely love the way that this car handles. It's perfect. It's very firm, but it also has a very good, comfortable ride to it. I only got one track day out of this car when we had all the issues, but I do plan on taking it back. But out of that one track day, the car performed extremely well. I kind of see that the KW V3s, the why you guys see me go for KWs all the time, is it allows me to get the stance that I want is in terms of height, which isn't very low. I'm not like a super stanced out low guy, but I also retain the quality of the suspension when that happens. I've never had a suspension setup from KW that was overly harsh or wasn't like daily drivable. KW already has a very good name for themselves, and there's a reason for that. I just think that they're one of the leading brands when it comes to suspension. It's a little more pricey, but you really get what you pay for. I think when you're putting your money into cars, like brakes, tires, suspension and wheels are like some of the most important things that you can put your money into. So this car has the KW V3s. All my cars pretty much had KWs, the Supra, the M2, the 340, and the M4 GTS actually comes with KWs from the factory. It comes with KW coilovers from the factory. So that car is just amazing. You don't really need to do anything with that car. It's a phenomenal car right out of the gate. And yeah, I absolutely love that car. The way that it handles, it is on the stiffer side, and that might not be for everybody, but it is phenomenal. And the fact that I have other cars to kind of drive, it's okay that that car is like extremely stiff. I only take it out when I kind of just want that. I want that feedback. I want that kind of ride. So KWs all the way for me personally. If I had to sell the GTS, oh God, and the E36 and get just one car from the profits, what would it be? A GT3 RS all day. For me personally, like the only way to progress from either of these two cars would be to go to a Porsche GT3, GT3 RS, something in that nature. I've always been in love with that car, but I fell even more in love with that car when I was actually given the opportunity to drive one. And that was really why I loved the M4 GTS. So when I drove the GTS, it had a lot of the similar characteristics as the GT3 RS, like one being just how harsh and like stiff the car was overall. Just felt like a race car straight out of the box. So probably a GT3 or a GT3 RS would be like my next move. Even if I just got rid of the GTS, that would be like the trajectory. I would probably go towards a Porsche GT3 RS or a GT3, something like that. What would be great advice to younger guys that want to be in your shoes, and how are you able to make things happen? Man, these questions are so difficult to answer with like short answers because we could just go off, but I should really make like separate videos on some of these topics. The most important thing you need to remember, now when you're saying like in my shoes, I'm assuming you mean like as YouTube or like just creating your own wealth and income aside from a 9-to-5. So what people need to understand is that when someone is a YouTuber, what they're really doing is they are an entrepreneur, and you can't just do YouTube and be successful. I mean, you can, but it's extremely rare. Like we're not all Stradmans running around here with Bugattis. Realistically, you really have to be, you have to have that eye and that taste for being an entrepreneur, and you just kind of have to be wired that way, because you will always need to be inventing other revenue streams to make it all work. Like solely basing your income off of YouTube is extremely difficult, and you have to be extremely successful and have a ton of views. And let's face it, not all car content is extremely viral content. So you have to do a really good job of diversifying your income, your portfolios, your investments, your businesses. I guess my best advice to all of you guys is, you know, if you wanted to really get into this field, do it because you love it. If you actually love it, the views and the money will eventually come. You know, obviously it takes some skill, but you need to get through the paths, the trials and tribulations, the peaks and valleys of, you know, trying something new and investing a little bit of money and taking a ton of time to see if you even like it and become better at it. If you don't absolutely love what you're doing, you're either just gonna get burnt out or quit. I'm in this for the long term, so like it's easier for me to sort of just get through it all because I love it. Like I'm not really looking for the short-term success. You know, at first, obviously, I wasn't able to do this and support myself, but eventually I got to the point where I had enough income streams based off of the vessel of YouTube that I was able to do this for a living without leveraging my time for a paycheck from someone else. My best advice is to just try it and recognize that, you know, it's got to be something that you really enjoy and that you really like if you want to go far in it and be successful. What's your opinion on the current state of BMWs right now, future electrification and current generation? Do you see them heading in the right direction? I personally think that electric vehicles, it's going to happen whether we like it or not, you guys. Like that's where the future is going, and we just kind of need to enjoy these older cars that we have, and these will all sort of become classics because they have gasoline engines in them. And at a certain point, most people are just going to be used to electric vehicles and probably embrace them. That will be part of it. I'm not like anti-electric vehicle. I just prefer having an engine. I prefer the feel of my gas pedal and my clutch pedal or my DCT. I think that the car has more character and soul. I think that when you get into EV, like they're just driving for you, there's nothing really exciting about that. I think that Teslas are boring to me. I don't care how fast they are. Taycan, I don't care how fast it is boring. I don't care about going the fastest from 0 to 60. I don't care about any of that stuff. Like I want to drive the car and feel the car, and that connection is what really is really what I love about cars in general. But it's going to happen, you guys. Like, regardless, that's where we're headed. What non-BMW car model would you most want to own? I mean, Porsche GT3 RS or Porsche GT3. I'm just a Porsche guy, man. I love Porsches. What are your thoughts and comments on how much car someone can afford? I think that question has everything to do with a person's personal finances. I mean, that's a really difficult question to answer based on, you know, the general public. Like, I could answer it for myself. I tend to only spend a certain percentage of my income on the vehicles. So the E36, obviously I own outright. The GTS I financed. I put like 20-some thousand down on that car. I have like a certain amount of payment that I will not go over, like a threshold that I'm not comfortable with spending over that. And that's just based on my income. And these are like liabilities at the end of the day. They're technically mine, sort of make me money, and I could argue the fact that they're assets, but let's be real, like these are liabilities and they're not making me a ton of money. They're making me a little bit of money, but not a ton of money. So I would rather the majority of the income that I could be spending on a vehicle or like a supercar, I would rather be putting that into something that's actually making me money, like an investment opportunity, an investment property, or one of my other businesses. That's my personal opinion. But again, it's going to be totally based off of what a person's income is. What has been your favorite BMW that you have owned so far? So the GTS has been easily, by miles, my favorite BMW that I've owned. It's just it's a very special and unique and cool car. You know, I see people in the comments out there like, oh, it's just an M4. Brother, if you think that the GTS is the same as just a normal M4, you really need to do more research, and you should probably like experience both, because I see a lot of people talking about the GTS versus the F8X M3s and M4s when really they haven't experienced either. Having experienced all of these different cars and now the GTS, I have tremendous amount of respect for the GTS, and I absolutely love it. I think it's just one of the sickest and coolest and most special and most fun cars I've ever owned. Literally is a dream car for me to own. And I'm more of like an F80 M3 guy, to be honest, like in terms of styling. This one was just, the opportunity was too good and I had to take it up. Yeah, GTS, hands down, my favorite one so far. Do you miss the Supra? And how is the M4 GTS compared to the Supra? So the Supra is a great car. I don't miss it though, to be honest with you. Like I think there were certain things that I do miss about it, but there were a lot of things about that car that I didn't love. One, it was just incredibly small. Like, I like small cars, but that car was too small. Like, you feel like you're just in this tiny, tiny little cockpit. Very, very difficult visibility. It didn't drive, like the connection to the car and the handling was just not very good, man. Like, it almost felt like you're getting like a budget BMW. The fact that it was designed by both Toyota and BMW is a really cool thing and a really fun and great thing, don't get me wrong, but I kind of felt like the car was just lacking in certain aspects. The styling is pretty cool. I think you can make it look pretty good. The part of that car though that is so great is the heart, the B58 TU. That is the reason that car is doing so damn well. And the fact that it's a little bit smaller and it weighs a little bit less. That's why you see everybody dragging those cars and start going to the drag racing, and that's like the new drag racing car. Everyone's building them because they perform really, really good. So I think that if that is your style, that is what you prefer in terms of driving. And look, if I had all the money in the world, I would have totally kept it and built it up and made it super fast, but like, I'm driving around enjoying my cars on these North Carolina roads. I'm not really at a drag strip. That's not important to me. You know, I'm not like a big street racer anymore. Like, I did that growing up, but I don't really do it that much anymore. I just like enjoying my cars, man. I just like the connection to them and just driving through these mountain roads and these windy roads that we have around here and just enjoying the connection to the car and building them up and doing that sort of thing. And I just kind of never felt like the Supra just didn't really have that special nostalgia for me personally. It just kind of felt like this newer hybrid that was super fast in a straight line and looked pretty cool. It was an interesting car nonetheless. I really did enjoy the car, and I maybe would buy one in the future, but I just think there's far better cars out there for the money, in my opinion. Now that I've experienced like the S55 platform and the F8X cars, I would have gone for an F80 M3 versus the Supra, because the Supra was, you know, it was a $60,000 car. I think I paid like 55 or 52 for mine or something like that. Definitely could have gotten into an F80 M3, and that would have been the much better decision in my opinion, in terms of like a car to drive with everything that it has to offer. We all have different expectations out of these cars, and things that we want the car to do for us. You know, some people on here are really into drag racing, some are into 40 rolls, some are into mountain roads, some are into just dailying. The things that are important to me may not be important to you. And so it's really tough for me to sit here and say, you know, you need to go out and buy this car, or this car is the way to go. In my opinion, I look at cars more like, you know, how does it feel? What's the connection like? How does it handle? Is it quick? What's the like daily drivability of it? And are there annoyances with like dailying the car or driving the car often? All of those calculations, all of those metrics just didn't work out great for me personally in the Supra. I'm having a far better time, or far better experience, I should say, with my GTS M4 over the Supra. And I think that you could definitely argue the same for like an M3 or an M4, just like base model or competition or whatever. That's just my personal opinion. Nothing wrong with Supras, they're fantastic cars, but I prefer the F8X over the Supra. I think it's really important to experience both of the F8X cars with the S55s and the Supras with the B58s and really understand why each car was made for specific reasons and the potential of each, and then decide for yourself what is the, you know, what is good for you. Tommy L Garage. Tommy drove my M4 GTS the other day and convinced himself that he needs to buy an M4 now, which is fantastic. Tommy, go get that M4.
There we go.
The Tommy L Garage stamp of approval.
Definitely approved.
Definitely.
The brakes are really good.
Carbon ceramics, buddy. Tommy's comment, is 980 horsepower really not enough for daily driving? I don't know, man. It seems like plenty for me. Are you ever going to track again? If so, where? Absolutely. I'm going to go back to Carolina Motorsport Park and I want to take the GTS. So this car was out on the track. We'll do another track day with this car. I still don't think this car is like completely ready for the track again. The GTS is born for the track and I want to get that car on a track like super bad. I'd like to do it soon. We'll go to Carolina Motorsport Park and then I have some friends who are going to VIR, so I think I'll tag along with them. Do I just do YouTube? Again, no YouTubers out there just do YouTube. They always have other businesses and you have to be wired that way in order to be successful or make a living doing this. So for me, it was never about like just doing YouTube. That's why it's such a difficult question to answer. I do a million things, but I'm just someone who prefers to not work in an office and just create my own wealth. I guess like the vessel of it all is technically YouTube, so we could say, yeah, I do YouTube. Oh man, all right, well, thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you guys for asking all your questions. I'll do these more often because I think you guys actually ask a lot of really good questions and it's good to just keep in contact with you guys and, you know, have an idea of what's going on, give you guys a little bit of insight into my life. But I appreciate you guys asking all the questions. Like I said, there's gonna be some cool merch packages linked down below on my website. I'm gonna be signing all of the shirts. You're gonna get a license plate frame, a decal, as well as the shirt of your choice. But I always appreciate you guys' support. You guys are amazing. I love you so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.